After a chronic reoccurring back injury that just kept getting worse and worse, knees that sounded like they were going to explode, and barely improving my vertical jump even after months of hard training, I came to the conclusion that I needed to reapproach this problem from the ground up. That is why well over a month ago, I started the Knees Over Toes journey, diving into these two books and the philosophy behind Ben Patrick's ATG method to hopefully address the imbalances and improve my issues so that I could come back stronger, faster, and more powerful than before. This is what happened, but you gotta focus. To start this journey, I bought both the Knee Ability Zero and Back Ability Zero guide booklets by Ben Patrick off of Amazon. Now, I did appreciate how simple of a read and straight to the point both of these booklets were, but a critic might argue that it looks very basic and the photos are just not professional. There's like 7 pages in the back that are just blank. Maybe that's for notes. However, in my opinion, I actually appreciated this approach. It made the read feel more friendly and less clinical. Regardless, in my opinion, what really matters is the information. So without trying to infringe on copyright, they each contained a series of several exercises, how to do them, and their methodology, that is, how they might work to help reverse some of the issues with the lower back and the knees. Now, when I decided to first start these exercises, I was actually coming off a really bad lower back flare-up, and wanting that to heal up to a certain extent before really exercising around that area, I decided to start with the Knees Over Toes program first. While my back's out, let's fix up my knees. Makes perfect sense. Now, another thing I appreciate about this program is none of the exercises require any equipment, so I was able to do this first day outside in the woods. However, I was only able to run through about the first 2/3 of this program on day 1 because the final third of these exercises in the Knees Over Toes were going to start to irritate my lower back, and like I said, I wanted that to heal up to a certain extent before I tried to push anything in that department. But even with only that, and only doing 1 set of each exercise, the next day, my legs were very sore in areas they haven't really ever been sore. One of those areas was my tibialis anterior. That is the almost never trained muscle on the front of the leg or the shin responsible for dorsiflexion at the ankle. You see, one of the big themes throughout these programs is to strengthen the body from the ground up, and not just do exercises that strengthen the knee or lower back, but rather exercises that fix imbalances around the supporting structures. Anyways, I only ran through 2/3 of this program one more time this week because I was so sore in these awkward areas. Now, the next week my back was starting to feel manageable, and I was also curious to see if I could handle some of the back ability exercises. Now, I did know I could already do some because a few of these exercises were also included in the Knee Ability Zero program. One of these exercises, apparently one of Ben Patrick's personal favorites according to his book, that goes between both programs that seems very beneficial for helping reverse the negative effects of sitting, is the ATG split squat. It's basically what he's performing on the cover of Knee Ability Zero, and the big takeaway point here is to help reverse those tight hip flexors that might be both negatively affecting the knees and the back. Now, there were a few exercises that were different in the Back Ability Zero program, addressing muscles like the piriformis and the quadratus lumborum. But one thing I realized is that I wasn't actually as flexible as I once thought. At least not in these specific areas. For example, I always thought I was pretty flexible in the legs because I can almost do the splits without training, probably from years of breaking. However, it only seems like that flexibility is really in my adductors. For when I was trying some of the stretches and mobility work in both the knee and back ability programs, I was realizing that specifically my hamstrings were so tight, it was almost embarrassing. And what I noticed early on when starting the Back Ability Zero program is that the day after, my hamstrings would always be very sore. Because of this, the second week I ended up only doing 3 of these workout days. 1 day back ability, the second day knee ability, and then the third day back ability again. And that was it. Now, towards the end of the second week and the beginning of the third week, as I was getting more accustomed to each of these exercises, becoming more in the groove and in tune with my body, I was really noticing that by the end of a workout, I was feeling really pumped in the areas surrounding my lower back or knees, but it wasn't like a normal muscle pump. It felt rather more like a tendon pump or something like that. Like not your typical swole at the gym pump, basically what I'm trying to say. More like a concentrated blood flow type of a pump around a joint. Also, rather than running through one program and then going into the other program, because some of the exercises were similar, during week 3 I fused both programs together, starting with knee ability 0 because that's closest to the ground, and then adding in any exercise from back ability 0 that wasn't in knee ability 0 along the workout. Now, because I just had another bad lower back flare-up, the only other exercises I was doing besides knee ability and back ability 0 were simple, slow and controlled calisthenics like push-ups, pull-ups, and bodyweight squats. But by week 4, I was beginning to feel better and more confident in my lower back. So I decided to maybe start to push it again and get back to trying to finish another huge challenge that I have been trying to accomplish for almost a year now. Now, at first I was being cautious with this challenge and I started out slow, but I think my meathead ego instinct took over and, well, I started going perhaps a little too hard. And I believe it was that led to another back flare-up. At this point, I was super frustrated, but also kind of worried. If you've been watching this channel, then you know, but this back injury has been reoccurring for years now. And with that being said, I was finally convinced to get some imaging done to see what might be the problem. And after getting my MRI report, I want to thank God because it was nothing catastrophic that can't be healed with time. In summary, based on the MRI report, the problem area seemed to be 2 bulging discs in my lower back. Thankfully, they weren't herniated and leaking out, and thankfully I didn't have like a fracture or something more serious, and it looked like it is something that can heal with time and proper rest. So for the end of the final week, I backed off the lower back ability training to let my flare-up cool down and primarily focused on knee ability 0. So after a little over a month doing knees over toes, back ability 0, thousands of reps of these exercises, my knees sound worse. But my knees actually feel way stronger and way more confident. For instance, a good example I've noticed recently is when walking down the stairs, especially in the morning. Like, I remember before this, I was kind of getting to the point where I was just like, like flopping down each stair, you know? But now I feel like I have this control down each step. Like, I can just like, I am a step walking phenom. Also, another good example is when I start to like go into a sissy squat, even though it's an exercise I never really did, but like if I just do that, like there would be no way I could do that before without feeling like my knees were gonna shoot out into the wall out the window. But like right now, if I'm like going into a sissy squat, like there's no compromising feeling at all. I feel very strong in like this like tendons and whatnot. And I'm like, yo, if I just like keep going with this, man, I could be like Ben Patrick when it comes to that knee strength, you know, like dip my knees in that pool water, just blip, cool them off. But regarding that cracking noise, however, why didn't that get better? Well, in my opinion, this actually strengthens my hypothesis for what I initially believed it was, and that is patellar maltracking or misalignment of my patellar tendon when it comes to the kneecap. Like it's grinding around the side rather than more where it should be, right? Now, if my patella is already kind of like off, well, I don't know if this program would have helped bring it back to where it should be, but rather just strengthen everything around the knee in general. But maybe going forward, I am gonna continue doing these knees over toes exercises, but I'm gonna add back in some of that knee balancing exercises that I was doing, those stretches, the foam rolling and whatnot, to hopefully get my patella to track more properly. Then maybe I can get rid of the cracking and have the super strong knees, and then get back to jumping and my performance. But what about the lower back? So yes, 2 bulging discs in the lower back, while that might not sound good based on what I've been told and what I've researched and come across, it's actually not absolutely catastrophic, and it's something that can heal over time with proper rest. But that being said, based on my research, it seems like it is going to take some time, longer than just a week, for the bulging discs to heal, and then some time thereafter doing some rehabilitation to get, you know, my back strong, functional, and things moving and balanced, going in the right direction, and then getting my performance strength back so that I can work on my jumps, use my new knee strength, and hopefully finally make some performance gains. This whole road to dunk, you guys thought I quit. I've been still thinking about this road to dunk since a year ago, since it looked like I quit. It's just, dude, we've had some issues. You know what I'm saying? We've had some issues. Anyways, in conclusion, knee and back ability 0, I personally enjoyed these programs. And to my surprise, something I haven't mentioned yet, they were a lot less like culty than I would have expected it to be. It was more just like down to earth and like, listen bro, here's some exercises. And they, in my opinion, they really did do the trick, and they're not like super complicated or anything like that. And like I also mentioned, didn't require any equipment. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, turn those notifications on. Peace. I will see you all in the next video. Oh, my blood test is back. That's right, literally right after my MRI, I decided, since we're already in the system, might as well get my testosterone checked. What is it gonna be? I don't know. Oh man, what's it gonna be? Stay tuned for next video. I'm gonna dive into this. Oh man, so you think it's low or high?